Is President Trump a neoconservative? Well, it has become increasingly difficult to make the argument that he's not a neocon because of his Israel policy. And that's the subject of today's video. Are Trump supporters going to turn on him because of his Israel policy? Trump supporters will swear up and down that Trump is not a neoconservative, that he's anti-war, or at least if he's not anti-war, he's non-interventionist. He's skeptical of the military-industrial complex, skeptical of the deep state. He's not going to let foreign countries run America. He's going to put America first. American interests come before the interests of foreign countries. But that's difficult to argue when it comes to Israel. That's difficult to argue. Now, some of his staunch defenders, the more neoconish Trump defenders, because yes, there are neocons that recognize that Trump is a neocon like them, and they applaud him. They're like, yeah, no, Trump is doing the right thing on Israel. He's letting them do whatever they want. He's being very sycophantic to Benjamin Netanyahu. He's being very disparaging toward Palestinians. Remember that time he called Joe Biden a bad Palestinian in the 2024 debate? Yeah, so they're like, he's my cup of tea. He's my cup of tea. He's pro-Israel. And being pro-Israel is pro-America. Remember that thing Nikki Haley said about Israel, about how, Israel doesn't need America, America needs Israel. It's those types who are like, yeah, Trump, rock on with Israel. But some of those other types, I guess you could say the opposite, the people with the opposite mentality, those Groyper types who are like, yeah, no, we do not like Israel. We do not like Israel. We kind of liked Trump back in 2017, 2018, 2019, but our patience is wearing thin with him on foreign policy. And they're actually being kind of consistent in that regard. They're consistent in their principle of being anti-Semitic, which is unfortunate. It's unfortunate that they come to the conclusion that Israel perhaps is doing the wrong thing with respect to Gaza and has too much influence in American politics, the Israel lobby, because of their own anti-Semitism. They'd come to that conclusion even if it weren't true. But yeah, they're like, no, Trump is bought out by Israel. Trump is Israel first and not America first. And there are a lot of these alt-right, well, alt-right is getting to be kind of an old term. It's not used that much anymore. Groyper types on X who are like, Donald Trump is Israel first, not America first. What the hell is going on? I didn't vote for this. But will that leak into the mainstream of Trump supporters? The mainstream Trump supporters, the people who actually make up the bulk, the lion's share of his votes, the people who show up to his rallies. Will his rally numbers really start dwindling as a result of his endless support for Israel and Benjamin Netanyahu? I just don't know. I just don't know. But we see that the dam is breaking in some ways. I don't think that foreign policy is ultimately the most important issue to Trump supporters anyhow. It's probably not the most important issue to Democrats. It just has not been at the forefront of Americans' minds. Issues like the economy and democracy and all that stuff, gun control, even abortion, are really taking up the bulk of the American consciousness. People are concerned about that. They're not so much concerned about foreign policy. Although some of the people who turned on President Biden and Kamala Harris over Israel, their support for Israel and their opposition to Gaza, their bad policies with respect to Gaza, those people are a different story. So yeah, obviously they can make the difference, but it's really tough to see Donald Trump losing his supporters because of Israel. People have talked about it recently, and so that's why I wanted to weigh in. There's kind of this feud between Tim Pool and Nick Fuentes. Nick Fuentes being a celebrity Groyper type. He's fairly young too, I think 26. And yeah, he's out there spewing anti-Semitic bile, spewing hatred, criticizing interracial marriage, just expressing his disgust for anyone who's not a white straight man, basically. And Tim Pool it was calling him out for being just obsessed with Israel, saying basically that he has Israel derangement syndrome, that he's just obsessed with cutting funding for Israel. And yeah, that's their main thing. He's like, why are you guys so concerned about Israel so much? And Nick Fuentes is like, yeah, no, Tim, no, it's not about that. It's about standing up to Israel and just being like, yeah, no, we want to be America first. And we're actually principled in America first. It's like, are they though? Are they? I mean, it just seems like we hate Israel people. We hate Jews. That's what they think, unfortunately. But maybe there's some thread of consistency. I just don't think so. I don't trust these guys to be motivated by much other than hatred and contempt. And I don't even think all like right-wingers, all Trump supporters are necessarily hateful. But these types, I should say they're more like former Trump supporters or people who reluctantly voted for Trump because they're actually too far right for Trump. Trump's too far left, you could say, for them. It's insane to have those words coming out of your mouth, but he's too much of a neo-lib or whatever. He's too pro-Israel for them. He's not anti-Semitic enough. And so they're like, yeah, we don't like Trump because of this. But does this leak into the mainstream of Trump support? I just don't think so. I just don't think so. These people will continue to say that Trump is anti-war. They'll continue to insist he's not a neocon, that he's the opposite of George W. Bush, that he's sicking it to the establishment and pissing them off. The military-industrial complex hates him. Jimmy Dore will say that. There are some pro-Trump people out there. I've seen a few of them on YouTube that have their shows and stuff who say, oh, you know, yeah, I really disagree with Trump on Israel. He is a bit too much of a pro-Israel candidate, a pro-Israel president, but there are some signs that he really doesn't like Benjamin Netanyahu behind the scenes, and that's really a good thing. I think that I'm open to that, and I hope that he will turn on him. And actually, maybe he's less of a Zionist than Joe Biden was. Maybe he's going to be better for Palestinians than Joe Biden was. They say that. They make that argument, but yet it hasn't materialized. It just hasn't materialized. All of this stuff that they say, these types, it's just conjecture. So yeah, there are a bunch of different people on the right in different types of views on Israel, basically. Pro-Israel, anti-Israel. There is diversity among the hard right. There is, just as there is diversity among the left. Ideological diversity exists on all sides, and it's hard to lump everyone into just a box. You know, people are independent, people are free thinkers. But unfortunately, there is a group of the population who is less capable of freely thinking than the rest, and it is people who have sold their souls out to President Trump, people who will defend whatever policies they need to defend because Donald Trump is the one enacting them. And that is really embarrassing, that they say, oh, well, I'm very anti-war. I can't believe that Dick Cheney endorsed Kamala Harris. That's really embarrassing and bad. I don't like Dick Cheney. He got us into the Iraq War. He was George W. Bush's vice president. He was a rhino, Republican in name only. He's a bad, corrupt guy. He endorsed Kamala Harris, so that's proof that Donald Trump is just awesome, and Donald Trump is the opposite of Dick Cheney. That's what they say. But then Donald Trump goes in there and does pretty much Dick Cheney-style policies, minus the ground invasions, sending people to Iraq and Afghanistan. But just hawkish rhetoric galore, probably more than Dick Cheney. Unhinged, too. Like, not even putting on this veneer, this facade of being a gentleman or diplomatic. Just, we need to go out and take Greenland and send troops to Mexico and, attack the border. Panama, we need to re-seize the Panama Canal. He says that. And then his Israel policy. Remember back, I think it was in January, as early as the first 2 weeks of his second term, he was like, we're going to level Gaza, we're going to take Gaza. America's going to have Gaza. He hinted at that. And Benjamin Netanyahu was next to him and kind of like, so he is feeding Benjamin Netanyahu everything he wants. He's given him the full dessert and more. He's making Benjamin Netanyahu very happy. He pushed in his chair. He's also starting to get a little more critical of Putin, which is kind of interesting too. I wonder if Trump supporters are going to be like, hey, that's not cool. You can't be mean to Putin. Putin's a good guy. Russia's cool. What are you, a simp for the military-industrial complex? What do you support, that sweater-wearing turd Volodymyr Zelensky? They'll go after him for that. That's what they call him. They mock him for wearing a sweater. But I just don't know if they'll actually go after him for it. I think they'll continue to support Trump, but it's interesting how his trajectory has altered in some minor ways throughout his second term, and his first term. But let me know what you think in the comments below. Will Trump supporters break with Trump over Israel? Like, comment, or subscribe to the channel. Thank you so much for watching. This is The Morris, the Merrier, and I look forward to speaking to you in my next video.